Hello students, here I am with yet another presentation which is going to help you in your last hour of preparation. Yes, as I said, this is the last capsule I'm going to give. So without wasting any time, let's look at the chapters from Flamingo, the prose chapters. Starting with the last lesson, we all know the themes are of patriotism and nationalism, importance of mother tongue, and regret over lost opportunities. Yes, setting is village school in Alsace. Important characters are Franz, who's a schoolboy afraid of being scolded because he has not revised the participles. And then he realizes the importance of his mother tongue when it's too late. Another important character is Monsieur Hamel, French teacher who has dedicated 40 years of his life to this school in Alsace. Here, what is important, children, is the message that one must value their language, culture, and education. Realization often comes too late. Most important narrative technique is first-person narration, retrospective and reflective, simple, realistic style, strong emotional progression. Remember 5 keywords in this chapter, children: language, patriotism, procrastination, regret, and education. Next, we move on to the law spring. Here, we talk about child labor, poverty and exploitation, loss of childhood, social injustice, lack of education. These are the important terms that you need to remember in this chapter. The 2 important characters, we all know Sahib-e-Alam. There is irony in his name itself. You've done that. Then there is Mukesh. You know the background of these 2 children. Sahib-e-Alam is from Dhaka. Mukesh is born in a family of bangle makers in Firozabad. Sahib-e-Alam dreams to study in a school, likes tennis shoes, whereas his reality is that he is forced to work at a tea stall. Here, Mukesh wants to become a motor mechanic. His reality is that he is stooped in poverty and he has to follow the family tradition. Exploitation by middlemen. Narrative technique of the Law Spring. It's a first-person journalistic narrative. It gives real-life accounts of children like Sahib-e-Alam and the ragpickers. It's descriptive and observational style, emotional appeal through direct experiences, and symbolism in names, places, and situations. We now talk about deep water. You have to remember, fear is psychological and can be defeated with courage, determination, and practice. That's the gist of the story. His early fear of William Douglas is at the age of 3 or 4 in Takima River. He heard about the stories of the treacherous Takima River by his mother and then knocked down by sea waves at a beach in California. Then he had the YMCA pool incident, which was the misadventure that happened. The impact of fear was that he avoided water, anything to do with water. He missed the joys of swimming, canoeing, fishing and all that. Then he decided to fight fear. The training process is important and the final test comes when he swam in lakes and rivers. Fear returned briefly, but he faced it calmly. Narrative technique, it's a first-person narration, Douglas himself. It has an autobiographical element. It gives detailed description of events and feelings, emotional and psychological insight into fear and courage, use of symbolism, water as fear, swimming as overcoming obstacles. We now talk about the rat trap. The world is like a rat trap. Greed traps people, but kindness can set them free. Most important character, the rat trap seller. Poor, lonely peddler sells rat trap for living, is bitter and cynical towards the world. His rat trap philosophy is that world is a giant rat trap. Riches, joy, comfort, all these are baits. There is no escape once you are tempted towards these baits. Another important character is Edla Will Manson, who is Ironmaster's daughter, kind, understanding, patient, and she is the one who believes in his goodness and brings about the transformation of the peddler when he is touched by her kindness and understanding, And on account of that only, he returns the stolen money that he had stolen from the crofter and signs off the letter as a captain. The narrative technique of this story is third-person omniscient narration, simple descriptive language, blends realism with moral lessons, character-driven storytelling, emotional and psychological depth through inner conflicts and redemption. The word redemption is also very important in this chapter, children. We now talk about Indigo. Gandhi's leadership and non-violence helped oppressed peasants with justice. So I'm not going to talk about the problem that was there in Indigo. You all know that. Let's talk about only important characters over here. It is Rajkumar Shukla, who was a poor illiterate peasant, determined and courageous, invites Gandhi to Champaran. Then Gandhi himself as a leader, simple living, fearless and calm, believed in truth and non-violence, inspired confidence. These are very important points for Gandhi's character sketch. Then the next important question is on social reforms that were brought about by Gandhi. So he worked towards education for children, cleanliness and health awareness, self-reliance among villagers. Narrative technique is again first person narration, journalistic observational style, realistic depiction of villagers' lives and social issues, simple and clear language, focus on character and environment, use of contrast between villagers' poverty and colonial authority. Next we have poets and pancakes. Here you all know what is most important is the significance of the title. Poets stand for creativity, sensitivity, and it was a favorite haunt of poets. You have umpteen number of examples for that. Pancake is a makeup brand which was used at Gemini Studio. The message central idea is creative individuals often suffer in rigid systems. Key characters of the story, Asoka Mitran, who is the author, writer, observer. Then we have the office boy. Another very important character is Subbu, number 2 at Gemini Studios. Poets, and of course, English poet Stephen Spender. The reference is very important in the story. Theme, satire and irony, class and power. Narrative technique of this story is, it's a first-person narrative, it's a gentle satire on film industry culture, it has a conversational tone, autobiographical and humorous. Now this slide gives you a very good comparison between three very important chapters, Indigo, Deep Water and The Rat Trap. Quickly skim through it if you get a question where you are asked to compare these three chapters, so it's going to be of help. So let's move on to the interview. Themes is power of communication, curiosity about personalities, balance between privacy and publicity, tone and style, analytical, conversational, informative. So you know there are two parts to it. One is the part where it talks about the advantages and disadvantages of interview, and the second is the interview itself with Umberto Eco. So message of the chapter, interviews are influential tools. They can enlighten or intrude. Success comes from discipline. Narrative technique is third person analytical narration, expository and reflective style, mix of factual information and opinions, use of questions and answers, focus on ideas rather than events or plot. So here we move on to the last chapter, Going Places. Understand the importance of the title. Going places means to the desire to rise socially or to succeed and to visit exotic places. It could also mean that it symbolizes ambition, dreams and pretentiousness. We all know the important characters are Sophie, Jansi. Sophie versus Jansi is very important. You have Sophie as a dreamer and Jansi who's very pragmatic. Sophie wants to be somebody, whereas Jansi is very mature, sensible and realistic. Jansi, in fact, is a total opposite of Sophie, because Sophie is someone who's fascinated by glamour and luxury. Another important character is the father, who's very practical and conservative. The message or central idea of the story is obsession with status can make one vain and superficial. Adolescents often overestimate themselves, hero worship, and fantasizing. Narrative technique of this chapter: third person narration, realistic conversational, focus on teenage psychology and imagination, blend of dialogue and narration, contrast between fantasy and reality, and finally, irony. So that's about it, children. Good luck, all the best, and I know you are all set to go.